everybody. Welcome back to the Sales on Demand Show. I'm Adam Schneider, and this is episode 103. Today I'm going to be talking about what is working for me right this moment. I'm going to give you some very specific detail on my business and how I've gotten here this year and what my plans are for the rest of the Mother's Day, Father's Day season. I think it helps for people to see what a successful entrepreneur is actually doing. So I'm going to be opening up the books and telling you exactly what numbers I'm seeing and what I'm hoping and planning for the sales coming up in the next 2 or 3 months, I think. It's about how long Mother's Day and Father's Day lasts. So let's just get this out of the way first. So I don't think I've ever been in such a dark place in my whole life. So the province that I live in, Alberta, has basically gone straight back to full lockdown. It was announced just out of the blue the other day. Nobody really saw it coming. We all thought that things were looking good, even if cases were increasing slightly. Hospitalizations were still maintaining this, even keel. And that was the whole justification for the lockdowns in the first place, right? Hospitalizations. We don't want to overwhelm the medical system. That was the whole thing. Nobody ever believed that we could eliminate COVID. All of that has completely been erased. The provincial government, not only did they just completely basically lie about what they were going to do. They said as soon as hospitalizations are under this amount, then we will do this, and they didn't follow through on it. So I was furious about that. But then recently they kind of relaxed things slightly, meaning that I could go back to the gym, and we were moving forward incrementally. So they've now, only 3 weeks after moving us to so-called step 2, they just out of the blue moved us back to step 1, which is basically full lockdown. I mean, it was just unbelievable. I feel like I've been punched in the face, and it's very, very seriously affecting just my state of mind, and my ability to even do any work has been drastically. I haven't barely been able to sleep. I just feel myself being very angry all the time, just feeling hopeless, when I really don't have as much reason to feel hopeless, if you know what I'm saying. I'm doing pretty good myself. It's just I feel hopeless because of other people who I know are suffering, and just the whole moving backwards thing when I can see that there's no physical, no scientific reason to do so. We're all watching the United States, which opened up. Not all of it, of course, but, a significant number of states. There's probably 200 million people in the United States just living a normal life. They're going out, they're seeing friends, and the sky is not falling. We know that, in Florida, for example, half of the cases that they're finding in Florida are the new variants. So this whole idea that the variants are this big unknown is simply false. It's just false. And yet it's almost like the rest of the world doesn't exist, and the only data that we have is from, the 1 or 2 people who are so-called reporting it here in the province. So no more gym, of course, which, I mean, I can deal with that, but it's the whole thing is just, it's like getting hit in the face with, a baseball bat, and I'll heal, but I need some time. So I am trying to distract myself. Of course, it doesn't help that, going on social media, it's just all over the place. I've never seen this much social media buzz about everything here in Alberta. We're making international news because our premier, well, not the premier, but the police came and surrounded a church with fencing. They literally fenced off a church and like chained the doors shut because the church was refusing to abide by the capacity limits, which is 15%. So no church is allowed to have more than 15% of the so-called fire code capacity. So depending on how big your building is, that might be 10 people. So of course most churches they're just not bothering because, running a church with 10 people it's a lot of work. Now, some people have said that, this is a kind thing to do. Look, everyone else is doing this. It's kind of like the kids going to school. We know that churches are not driving. Nobody has died in Alberta from going to church and getting COVID. Nobody. Somebody pointed out to me that a few people died in Arizona. They're like, 12 people died in Arizona from church. And I'm like, okay, so 12 people in North America have died from going to church. Church helps millions of people. I would imagine that people going to church has saved, and you may not be religious, but this is a fact that people, they feel more hopeful about life, they feel more engaged with other people, and they often will, not commit suicide because they get involved with religion or Christianity or other types of religious groups. It is a proven fact that getting involved with groups of people with whom you have something in common keeps your mental health high and gives you purpose in life and prevents you from being suicidal, keeps you away from drugs and alcohol. We've doubled the amount of overdoses and alcohol deaths in the province. I mean, that's just a fact. I've looked at the numbers. I've been following it since last year. The numbers have doubled. In the United States, there's 81,000 people who have died of overdoses, and those are all younger people, most of them men, but women as well. And the vast majority of them are under 25. Most of them, the rest are usually under 35. So we're losing young people to overdose because people are locked down and they have nothing else to do but do drugs, and it kills them. So, I mean, I've never been so angry, but I'll get over it. That's all I have to say is I will get over it, because what else am I going to do? I'm feeling rebellious. I can see how, 100 years ago or 200 years ago, I can see how armed rebellion starts. Like people like me who just are like, I'm fed up with this. I'm going to fight back. And, 150 years ago, that meant actually picking up your musket or your sword and forming a group of people who are also feeling the same way. And they're like, all right, we're going to go, burn down the castle and take over the king's land. So I can see how people would have felt like that. And I empathize with that situation. So I'm feeling the same way. But, completely separate from that, I actually started a Facebook group that is dedicated to making chickens legal in my hometown. So this is part of my, I don't know, it just felt like something I needed to do. I love chickens, and I raised them when we were living out on the farm, and I thought I would like to do that again. So I just decided that this is something that I should dedicate some time to. Making this legal I feel like I can do this, because I actually have a decent amount of experience with bylaws, which are, the municipal laws we have in towns and cities here. They're called bylaws. I don't know if that's the same in the U.S., but it's basically like it tells you what you're allowed to do, how tall your fence can be, stuff like that. So the bylaw in my hometown prohibits raising chickens, but the council has said that they're open to changing that law, but they just need some more information. So I thought to myself, okay, this is a project that I think I can really hammer, because I know how these bylaws are formed. I know how they should look, and there are probably a dozen small towns and cities that also allow chickens in backyards, and we just need to go and look and see what they're doing and create a proposal, bring it to council, And they need someone who's articulate, which is going to be me, because I know what I'm talking about when it comes to chickens. And basically, I'm going to say, hey, listen, if you allow dogs, then you have to allow chickens. And that's just going to be a project that I'm going to be doing. And there's a whole bunch of people that were excited to be part of that. I made a Facebook group, so it was kind of a cool thing. And we're going to get past this. Like this whole thing, this whole COVID thing, and 2021, this dark period in our time is going to pass. There are more hardships coming, but this one is going to end. It is going to end, and I have to just keep believing that it's going to end, because otherwise I will literally pull my hair out and go crazy. I don't think I can handle just the hopelessness of not knowing that it's going to end. I mean, obviously not knowing when it's going to end is stressful, but it is going to end. All right, so no more about that. I'm done ranting. So let's talk about what's selling. So, believe it or not, masks are still selling. And they are selling much better than I would have expected them to, given that, there are huge areas of the United States that are not requiring masks at all. I don't sell masks really to Canada because I don't have any way to make them, and I don't know, it's just I'm not seeing a lot of Canadians buy masks. I did see that happening, last year, but not as much anymore. But people in the United States are still buying masks, and I'm selling them on both Amazon and on Etsy, and they are still selling. Not, with the furor that they were selling last year, but it has been pretty much steady. I haven't really seen a decline in the amount of mask sales that I get. So if you have some, design ideas about masks, get them up there. If you join my email list at salesondemandshow.com/AZ, you're going to get some tips on how to list your masks on Amazon. I'm going to be sending it on email this week. I'll reiterate that. I've talked about that before, but I'll send out another one. That's only going to be on the email. I'm not telling people that in this on this podcast at all. So you're going to have to get that email to find out how to do that, because Amazon actually prohibits mask selling, but there's a special way that you can get your masks on Amazon. All right. So I've talked about, the way to join the email list, salesondemandshow.com/AZ. All right, so let's talk about what's happening in the business right now. So these are the most up-to-date numbers for me. My sales to date this year, $9,000 on Amazon. That is 38% higher than the same period of time last year. And that's basically the first 3 months of the year are the quietest. This is something I've verified with other sellers. The first 3 months of the year are usually pretty quiet. So judging by the amount of sales I've made this year, I'm on track to crack 100,000 in sales on Amazon just with what I'm doing right now. If I don't really accelerate, the number of listings I've got, this is what I'm going to be doing, is about 100 grand in sales on Amazon. That's including Fulfilled by Merchant, which is print on demand, and Amazon FBA, which is Amazon's special program where you can ship your products to Amazon and have them fulfilled from Amazon's warehouse with free shipping for all of the customers who subscribe to Amazon Prime, which that is my highest sales. That's where I get most of my sales. That is where I spend the most time, and that's what I recommend. I also teach that in my course, how you can make more money with Amazon FBA. It is a great program, and I'm up 38% this year, so that's looking good. I do know a seller who is running about $100,000 from, the 1st of January till like 2 days ago. So she posted that in the group. I believe it was March 31st was the end date for that. She just barely made it to 100 grand in that time. And so that's my goal. I, at some point, want to reach that. And that the only way for me to do that is to list more products and send them for FBA. So that's what I'm aiming to do. It's going to be a slower process. I'm not going to reach 100,000 in 3 months right away, but I can probably hit 150,000 this year. So Etsy, I did about $5,000 in sales so far on Etsy, which is it's up about 100% over last year. So that's really good. I wonder how that's going to play out when we get into Mother's Day, because last year Mother's Day saw an amazing increase for me. And then, of course, I had masks over the summer, which obviously we're not going to have that again. So last year, the numbers were not normal. So I'd really like to keep holding that number high, but we'll see. If I can keep doing double my normal numbers on Etsy, then I'll end up with about 100,000 in sales on Etsy as well, which will give me, between Amazon and Etsy, that'll give me probably about 200 grand in sales, which is fantastic. That would be amazing. So that's my hope, and I'm pushing towards that. I've been adding around 20 to 30 listings every day with my virtual assistant. So that is also working really well, but it is a lot of work. So I'll talk about how I'm trying to remove myself from that process shortly here. So let's talk about the individual things that I'm doing here. So with FBA, I am a bit behind. These last 2 weeks have been just a nightmare for me, really. Between the lockdowns and everything else, the last 48 hours, I have just felt like garbage, like my headache. I can barely just function, and I can literally see depression setting in, and I've never felt that before. So I'm behind on that, but I did kind of get my act together and ran a few boxes out. Ran a few boxes of FBA, shipped them off with UPS, and I need to basically double that. So I need to be doing 2 boxes a week, and eventually I'd like to be doing 4 boxes a week, which is about $10,000 worth of product. And if I double the amount of mug presses that I do, then those 4 boxes will probably only take me about 4 hours of actual time to print. That's pretty good. When you think about it, 4 hours a week to make $10,000 worth of product, that's a pretty good return on your time, even if you're doing the work yourself. So I'm aiming towards that. So talking about my virtual assistant, of course, I hired a virtual assistant about, I want to say 8 weeks ago now, and he's been doing really well. Of course, a lot of the work that he does has to come from me, so there are days that I don't put out as much for him to do, so I'm underutilizing him, which is not great, but it's better than nothing, right? So I am going to be hiring a graphic design virtual assistant after Mother's Day. I need this whole thing to be out of my hands. I do have a couple of options for that, and pretty much all of them are fairly significantly costly. So I'm just, looking into what I can do. Graphic design work does cost more. It's the most expensive type of, virtual assistant or assistant type things that you can pay for, because it's a skill. It really is a skill. It's a skill that I don't have in great measure, but I need someone to do it. So there is one option that I looked into, and that is a company that offers unlimited graphic design work for about $450 a month. Now that sounds like a pretty significant cost, but if you're talking about unlimited design work, I mean, that is huge. So really, I could just give this company all of the ideas that I can muster, 10 to 20 a day, and my virtual assistant would basically receive those. They would probably go into a folder. I wouldn't have to think about it at all. And if I'm looking to scale up and take myself out of this, then I need to start, really maximizing that leverage, like I was talking about a couple weeks ago, and to maximize other people's time to make my life easier and to do other things. Focus on things that actually that only I can do. So, of course, on Etsy, sales are accelerating. I'm hoping to maintain my 100% increase over last year. We'll see. We'll see. It's going to be interesting this year on Etsy. But, yeah, that's the hope. All right, so talking about some investment stuff. Crypto. This is interesting, and I think a lot of you guys are going to find this cool. And you might even want to emulate this. I'm not promoting this. I'm just telling you what I'm doing. And this is something that I'm doing with the extra funds that I've been getting from selling. So I'm taking the extra funds that I get from selling on Amazon, selling on Etsy, and I'm pumping them into I'm gonna tell you what this is, and then I'm gonna tell you how it works, because it is more complicated than it sounds, but really you don't have to know anything to do this. So a while ago, and I've shared this story before, I was thinking to myself that I need to start investing money because I had a bunch of cash just basically sitting in the bank. So I did buy some beef from my uncle. That was quite a bit of money. And then the rest of the money, I decided, okay, I'm going to throw some of this into crypto, which is basically Bitcoin, Ethereum, all of those sort of digital currencies that everybody has heard about, but people really don't know how it works. So I've learned a lot about how crypto works and how it basically comes to exist. At least enough that I am happy with my level of knowledge, and I have no desire to learn any more about it. I don't need to learn any more about it. I know the basics. So basically what I did is I found what's called a bot, and it's basically a computer program that you put some money in there, and it goes and looks at the marketplace, and it buys and sells these cryptocurrency coins. And it uses signals from the market that only the robot knows, or the software program, I guess you could call it. The software program knows what it's looking for, and it looks at those signals. So when it sees that, okay, Bitcoin looks like it's trending up, it'll buy some of that particular coin, and then once it reaches a certain level of increase, it sells it. So basically it just keeps buying and selling. And it's called a hopper. So a hopper is basically, it's an old word that refers to it used to be like this metal box over top of a mill where you'd pour in like seeds, and they were sitting in this hopper. So this is called a crypto hopper, and it's actually at cryptohopper.com. That's where I found this hopper. And you do have to buy a subscription, but based on the results I'm seeing from this, the subscription was well worth it. It's $49 a month for the subscription to the hopper, and then you pay a little bit of fees every time it trades. And then there's a few other things you pay for, and it's going to take you some time to set it up. But overall, so I invested $3,500 about 3 weeks ago, and the value of that has turned into about $3,900. So I've gained about $400 in overall value. And I'm not buying and holding anything. Basically, the hopper just buys and sells, and it does so within, as few as 15 minutes, and sometimes as long as 4 or 5 days. But it's not long-term holding anything, so, if Bitcoin takes a huge, dive, basically my holdings don't go down because I'm not actually sitting on any long-term holdings. Now, there's nothing wrong with buying and holding crypto. That's a good idea, and I might do that as well as what I'm doing with this. But the gains from these automated trading systems have exceeded the overall gains that these coins are making. So it is a fairly interesting system. And it's basically arbitrage. If you know what arbitrage is, you buy it low and you sell it high. And it's automated, so you don't really have to know anything about it. And I'm just going to be leaving this money in there. It seems like a great way to just automatically invest money. I'm not going to be pulling any of the money out. I'm just going to leave it in the hopper and see how this works. And I will let you guys know how my hopper is doing as, week by week as we go here. I'm planning to make this a weekly segment where I report my earnings every week to give you guys some inspiration, show you what's possible, and keep myself accountable. So that's basically what I'm trying to do here. So that's my crypto hopper. Found it at cryptohopper.com, and I'm using a program called Profit Scalper, which is a strategy that you can buy. You just buy a subscription to the strategy. So yeah, there is some ongoing cost. But like I said, it has returned $400 in 3 weeks for me. And the crypto markets, they haven't really gone up that much. Like Bitcoin and Ethereum haven't really gained, but the hopper just keeps running, buying and selling based on the fluctuation in prices. And there's a whole bunch of other coins and stuff. Anyway, so go look at cryptohopper.com to see more. Prepare yourself for a steep learning curve on that one. It's quite complicated. Setting it up requires some time, but it's kind of cool, and I think it's worth it. You're probably going to need about $1,500 minimum to make it worthwhile. But there are people who have like $100,000 in these hoppers, and that's basically, if you were pulling the money out, it's a full-time income. All right, so the last thing, of course, is training and coaching, which is my main source of income. I do coaching for another program, and I have my own coaching program called the Print on Demand A to Z, and I am working on perfecting this system. I have gotten some excellent feedback on this. A lot of people are interacting in the Facebook group. My brother is really heavily involved. He's been doing a great job. He's been adding Photoshop tutorials and free mock-ups and stuff like that. I'm just really grateful that everybody in the group is just really engaging really heavily. So I'm going to be doing a big launch in May. There's going to be lots of students coming in, and I'm going to be starting up a weekly mastermind group. So we're going to be going weekly. It's going to be like online session, Zoom session. Anybody who wants to can join. I'm going to be putting the videos from Zoom into the training, so you can watch them even if you can't make it to the meeting. But this is basically for people who want to scale up their print on demand and not just make a couple $100 a month, but if you want to make thousands of dollars a month with print on demand, you need to get in on this launch that I'm doing in May. So that's coming up, and it's going to be a lot of work. I'm adding a couple of segments that aren't part of the training right now. One of them being how to hire a virtual assistant, everything that I've learned about it, and all of the information you need, including, how to interview people, how to train them, everything like that. That's all going to be in there. And then I'm adding a big segment on printing your own products at home. So that is going to be part of that. I literally want to make this A to Z, everything you need to know about selling print on demand. So my 3 weekly priorities for the next month are as follows. I need more FBA listings and more stock sent to Amazon. This is the moneymaker for me. And I had big dreams at the beginning of the year of doing this, a lot of this, but I people get lazy. I've gotten lazy. Plus I've just been busy. I've been busy doing other things. So it's kept me doing less of this than I really should have, but that I'm going to be ramping this up. Then, of course, more listings. So more listings on Amazon, more listings on Etsy, more customization listings, and saving every penny. Those are my 3 weekly priorities. I want to end the month of May with around $20,000 in the bank. That's kind of my goal, and we'll see how that goes. But for the year, of course, I'm going to be hiring a graphic designer, And my goal is to just separate myself completely from the building business aspect, the building up my business, because I want to focus more on coaching and training. I really love it. I love coaching and training. Interacting with people is definitely something that I love and I'm good at, and I want to do more of that. So I need to free my time up so that I can focus on that and not be trying to split my time between building my own business and doing coaching and content for other people. So I believe at the end of last week's podcast, I said that I was going to talk about building an Etsy email list. I'll just be honest, I forgot that I was planning to do that, but I am going to be doing that as next week's podcast topic. So building an Etsy email list is a way to start, building up your own audience so that you can remarket to the people who have bought from you already. You've acquired customers. You've got them on Etsy. They trust you. They know you. They bought from you. Now we're going to talk about how to get them to buy again. We're not advertising. We're not spending money on this. This is a completely free system. Building an email list is free. It costs you nothing. You can do it free with MailChimp. So we'll talk about that next week. Don't miss it. We'll see you guys on the flip side. Cheers.